ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् हरिः ओम द्यौः तान्तिरन्तरिक्षगुं तान्तिः पृथिवी शान्तिरापः शान्तिरोषधयः शान्तिः वनस्पतयः शान्तिर्विद्ये देवाः शान्तिर्ब्रह्म शान्तिः सर्वगुं शान्तिः शान्तिरेव शान्तिः सामा शान्तिरेति ॐ सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः.
So, first of all, I think thank you for coming. Some of you know me, but predominantly my thing goes back when I came to this country where I was an immigrant like everybody else, and this country opened its doors and accepted me with, and today whatever I am is because of the country gave us opportunity. But more that, they also gave me the chance to meet a lot of Jewish brethren of ours who I would say single-handedly more. Hey, I can say thank you to a lot of Jewish folks who really. It was in my dreams, it was in my thing, but one day after, I would do it the right way. I'm going to set up something as Indies and Jews are so. You should do something. And with time flies, got involved with printing companies, and finally, time has come to set it up because I think it's the need of the hour. It's the time when most of the people are still talking about, how do we get rid of this? But I think terrorism is a real threat to all of us, and if we don't see it, I would say, we are not understanding it. So terrorism is here. It's in India, it's in Kashmir, it's in Gaza, it's next to Israel. It is in US also, because I could tell you there are so many undocumented people who came and we have no idea who it is and what they are planning. And we are just hoping and pray for God that those things don't happen. One of the things I've been a very big believer is President Trump has been right on a lot of things, and this was one of the things that he was so right on, that we need to fix it. This border is always a big issue. And I think what he's doing is the right thing for this country. And it's all common sense. It's not about anything else. You want to come the right way. We all keep the right way. That was the way it should be. But not to just go across or come in that create mayhem. I think that's what we're talking about. This organization, and I really, as they say, building it out with folks who understand this. Just to give you an idea, we have October 28th, the annual gala that's going to be in Mar-a-Lago, President Trump's home, and we are ready for that one. But I wanted to kind of get folks together on one platform that really got to say that this is not about this is about the community. What happened in Pahalgam can happen to anyone. What happened in Gaza can happen. What happened in Israel can happen to anyone. The massacres are not something that we should let go of lightly. They need to be dealt with very stern. And we are hoping that those things would happen. I think predominantly our communities have been bound together in many ways, but they've never come together in many ways. So I think this is probably one of our things now to talk about and say it. And I also wanted to make sure that I kind of recognize a lot of people here. We have speakers should be coming in, but I think I wanted to make sure that I wanted to recognize Congressman Fitzpatrick. And in fact, I'm probably asking you just to come and say a few words. I have Congressman Kean just walked in. So I think we have a lot of folks who are talking about this and they're saying it, but I think this is the time to come together and do things together. So in our organization, what we did was what we're building out is with very powerful individuals. I wanted to recognize three people. Dr. Munir Kashmir is here. He's he's one of those old Republican Jewish and as I would say, American Jewish Congress president. He's been around and he's going to serve with me as vice chair. I have Senator Jim Resch is chief of staff here, and he cleared out all his calendar today to be here. So thank you for coming. I really, it means a lot to us. So, anyways, what I would ask now is we have Rajiv Malhotra, who is also going to be a part of American Hindu-Jewish Congress as on the board. He's been doing this for many years. I would say he just finished 30 years of Infinity Foundation, and his main thing has been about anti-woke and what he has built in so many years. A lot of people could attend his events, which was largely attended. I would say about 1,400 people were there in New Jersey 2 weeks ago. Right. But I want Rajiv to talk about this, pitch and what he has done. I would also recognize Suhag. She's from Indo-Pacific Foundation. She's been doing a great job. She has been running this thing for many, many years. And she's going to get paid for it, not just games. And so I think I would just give to Rajiv so that he can explain as to what are the basis of what is happening in today's world, because this is not about terrorism alone. This is all about, and someday people will get to see and maybe hear about it. China is involved in this everywhere, and if we don't see it today, then you will see it very soon. But China is part of this thing, and nobody understands it yet, because everybody is more consumed about that India and Pakistan are going to go to war, but it's probably not just two countries who don't want to go to war, but I think there's a lot of other people who are pushing them to go to war. But I will have Rajiv talk more about this. So
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. I want to thank Arthur for organizing this. What I'd like to do is give a broad perspective on the issues of the violence that we just experienced in Kashmir. Just a headline scan, about 26 people, innocent, were killed because they were not Muslims. Most of them were Hindus. It was verified, the religious identity was verified, and then they were killed. As a result, some things happened between the two countries. And so that has taken the media attention rather than the underlying problem. Sometimes the liberal, biased media takes the effect rather than the cause, and talks about the effect rather than the underlying cause which produced that effect. So I'll talk about the underlying cause. There are two global processes at work that must be understood. And once you understand these global processes, it becomes clear that this is not properly understood as an India-Pakistan issue, but something much broader. The first global process is that there is anti-Semitism and anti-Hinduism, which we call Hindu-phobia. And this manifests in many different ways in many different parts of the world. It's been going on for a long time. There are local episodes, local instances, but that doesn't mean that the problem is a localized problem. It's not a Kashmir problem. It is more than a Gaza problem. It's actually a global processes going on problem. The narrative is global. The same narrative is everywhere. The narrative being that there are people who want to establish a caliphate and they want to establish Sharia worldwide. That's the narrative. You may want to deny it, maybe it's not politically correct, but the narrative of those who are doing it is that narrative. So you must understand an issue also from the other side's point of view. Who are the ones doing it? Why are they doing it? And that's why they're doing it. It's very clear in their minds. The terrorists themselves come from many different countries and they mix and match. So it's not about you are from this country and you're fighting that war and this guy is from this country and he's fighting that war. They are from all over, all sorts of countries. The training is globalized. The funding is globalized. The tactics are globalized. The same tactics they use everywhere. The weapons they use are improved each time. They get better and better. So when you look at the intelligence gathering, what they learn from a situation and how they share intelligence with each other, it's not within national boundaries. This is not a problem that you can localize and say it belongs in this country or that country. That's the old model of nation states. And this particular process of globalizing a caliphate does not believe in nation states. So its framework is beyond a particular region here or a particular country there. It's more ideological, religious, ideologically based. So when you look at the global flux and movement and networking of the fighters, the training, the weapons, the money, the ideology, the narratives, you cannot just frame this as an India-Pakistan problem, which unfortunately is the way it's been done. It's been framed as an India-Pakistan problem, and my challenge today is to convince you that that's a narrow view and it's the wrong view. You have to see it in a broader context. Now, the Jews and the Hindus are at the front line facing this. The problem goes beyond Jews and Hindus, but they are at the present time the front line. And that's because the Middle East crisis, the Middle East problem, is a good way for the other side to propagate its views, propagate its mission. But the mission is not limited to the Middle East. It's just as much South Asia, where there is more Muslims than anywhere else in the world. There's 600, 700 million Muslims in South Asia. That's huge. So to get them flared up is a part of this agenda. And the agenda goes beyond just these two regions. It's a worldwide agenda. It's a global agenda. It's a new kind of globalization. This is the globalization of a certain ideology. That's what's going on. So it's a rival to the previous Western idea of globalization. Think of it that way. It's a globalization against a previous globalization. And so if you think of it that way, it's not important to look at it as what is our policy towards India or should we be balancing towards Pakistan. I mean, that's just a very narrow-minded view, and I'm sorry, I still find many of our lawmakers, many of our leaders, media people thinking in that narrow frame. What is happening in Gaza and what is happening in Kashmir are not two different things. It's also going to flare up in many other parts of the world. There are non-state actors. That's another very interesting commonality. And then there are state actors, some with murky relationships, some with deniability. In the case of Israel, it could be Yemen, it could be Iran. In the case of India, it could be Pakistan. But that's just a sort of part of the symptoms, a footprint of a bigger global process at work. There's asymmetric tactics, same used everywhere. Now, when you look at Hindus and Jews, we share a lot. We share a lot civilizationally, and we share a lot in current times, in modern practical context. Civilizationally, the Jewish presence in India is among the oldest in the world, and the Jews will tell you, quite a lot of them have examined this and tell you that some of the synagogues in India are the only oldest synagogues with uninterrupted respect and open, practice, never broken, an unbroken practice of Judaism in India, like nowhere else in the world, going way back in time. And neither of these two civilizations have wanted to expand, conquer, defeat others, force them to convert. There is no history of foreign conquest, even when they were very strong, very powerful, but they never militarized to expand beyond their borders. So they share a lot in terms of looking within, being self-content, having mutual respect, etc. And so they both survived an awful long time, an enormously long time, a very hostile world. And so naturally they're targets. And this brings them together as having a shared problem, shared enemy that's after them. This is the first of two global processes at work that I want to talk about. This being the Islamic terrorism, even though it's unfortunate that merely criticizing, merely giving the evidence, merely talking about what the issues are, can cause you to be accused of Islamophobia, even though all you are doing is exercising your free speech to explain you're not against a particular religion, but against the behavior of the people who practice that religion. And that should be allowed under free speech. The second global process that is behind all this is China. I think that is well understood. I think that is not considered controversial for people to say that China is a rival. It wants to topple the world order, and it has its hands everywhere in the world. It's knocking at every door, and many times the doors do open. They have cut deals in every continent for rare minerals, for trade, for one road, one belt thing, that whole supply chain, initiative, so they can throttle, they can choke, they can control movement of things. This is what President Trump has picked up brilliantly in his decision to take over the Panama Canal, because on both the eastern and the western side, the administration of the canal was in the hands of Chinese companies, and so they could decide what goes and what doesn't go. So this sort of far-sighted thinking on the part of President Trump is quite remarkable, because many presidents, many parties have allowed this to happen. They've allowed this pan-Islamic terrorism thing to just go on, and they've allowed the China threat to go on with basically episodic responses. So there's an episode, there's a response to that episode, and then we forget about it until the next episode happens. And so this seems to just go on and on. And he's the first person who has taken this on head on. Both these threats, both these global threats, he's taken them on. So China's role is very interesting. Domestically, they suppress the Muslims domestically, and that's well established. So as I was saying, I want to decenter this whole analysis from India, Pakistan, and put it in a broader context. And the first broader context is this pan-Islamic, not that Muslims are bad, not that the Islamic religion is bad, but there are bad actors who in the name of that faith are doing what they're doing. And that's what we are talking about. So that's one. The other one is China. So when you look at China, China has a very enigmatic relationship with Islam, because domestically it's persecuting Muslims. It's a well-known fact. But then internationally, they're supporting some of these things. So they're supporting Pakistan's, Islamic attacks on India, because it's your enemy's enemy is your friend kind of strategies that they're following. And Pakistan is not being supported because Chinese really love them. They are just useful. They're just useful in doing this sort of thing. Useful idiots, some people have said. You just use them and they are available. They're available to be sold. And this is China offers very good deals in the name of development and all that stuff. So the Chinese are offering things like weapons, things like satellite surveillance, UN Security Council support, media support, political support, general clout, gravitas in various multinational institutions. So from China's point of view, this Kashmir issue has been going on for a while it has its own border dispute with India. So the two of them can be mixed up. The Kashmir battles and the battles on the India-China border can be mixed up as a fight against India from two different fronts, a two-front war that India has to face. So for them, it's a tactical thing. It's not out of love for Pakistan or anything like that. And also, it diverts China's attention away from their domestic policies. They have a lot of domestic problems, economic problems going on, a lot of problems in the South Pacific with different countries in the South Pacific, Taiwan not the only one. So as a kind of, it is quite plausible that China may do something radical against India militarily. So India is a natural target for China, just like Taiwan is. The point I'm making is that both global forces, the Caliphate force and the China force, have India in their crosshair. And so when you look at US posture towards India, US policy towards India, you got to look at it not just in a localized geographical context, but a broader context of these forces. And in that way, when you look at it that way, India is a very natural ally for the United States. So there is already this Quad in the Indo-Pacific, which is a US initiative, and India is a part of that. India is the main part, the only part in the Indian Ocean part of the Indo-Pacific. The question comes, why hasn't that been increased? Why hasn't it grown from where it is towards a more comprehensive, whether it's a defense treaty, whether it's military, whether it's weapons? The US would like all of that. The US would like to sell more weapons and have interoperable weapons between the two countries, but it hasn't happened. And the question is, why hasn't it happened, even though the US wants it and India also in principle wants it? And I can suggest a few issues, and maybe we can work on these. One of them is that there is a trust deficit from India, a trust deficit towards the United States because it's for historical reasons. Back in time from the Nixon era, when there was a war in '71 between India and Pakistan, which resulted in the creation of Bangladesh, Nixon sent the Seventh Fleet to put India on the spot, and India was very threatened by that, and naturally India never forgot that. And that pushed India into the arms of the Soviets. I mean, the US can keep blaming, saying, why do you buy your weapons from the Soviets? It's because way back, 50 years ago, that happened. And so India has been there, and the Russians have been a very reliable source of weapons, never threatened, suspending them or withdrawing them or any of that stuff. And so India has never gotten out of that. That's just the way things are. It's momentum. Because weapons are a very long-term, decades-long platform. You cannot just turn on the faucet, turn off the faucet. When there's a change of government somewhere, you cannot just say, okay, we may lose our weapons and all that. You have to be, if you are constantly under threat in a dangerous neighborhood, then you have to have your weapons aligned on a long-term basis. That's one of the reasons I can think of. Another is that Speaker Johnson is here. Welcome, Speaker Johnson. It's my pleasure and honor to welcome you, and please say a few words. We're talking about the issues that Hindus and Jews face in common, the anti-Semitism and the Hindu phobia, and why we are uniting all of us in this new initiative to fight the common enemies. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I appreciate that. Good to see you all. Welcome to Washington. My good friend Arthur Kapoor sent me a note and said, "You must come by." I said, "Yes, sir. I do anything Arthur says." But I'm really, really grateful for all of your interest and involvement in what is a really, really important issue. I want to thank the organizers of this event, continuing to bring together leaders of two of the world's oldest religious traditions. My background is in constitutional law, and I was a litigator who defended religious freedom. That was my job for 20 years before I got to Congress. I was a religious liberty attorney. I used to go into courts and defend that right because it really is so important for all faiths, not just one, but for all. That's a central premise of this great republic in America, is that we regard religious freedom to be our literal first freedom. It's the first freedom, as you know, listed in the First Amendment of our Constitution. And here in the epicenter of religious liberty and tolerance, we do right by the rest of the world when we come together for productive dialogue and exchange. That's what you're doing. We applaud that. We want to encourage it in every way. And we send a message to other people of faith around the world when we do that. We really are stronger together than we are apart. And that, in a day like this, is a very important message to be resonating, and you're helping to make that happen. This meeting couldn't come at a more crucial time. Of course, our Jewish friends, our Hindu friends, people around the world are facing threats on all fronts. The Iran-backed terrorism in the Middle East, of course. Brazen acts of anti-Semitism here in the United States, on college campuses and elsewhere. It's detestable. We had the horrific attack on Kashmir last month, of course, that killed dozens of innocent people. Now, we had 4 years of the previous administration, the Biden administration, and that showed us the dire consequences of weakness on the global stage. The thing about America is that we really have to project and maintain peace through strength. That was an old Ronald Reagan doctrine. It's one I believe in firmly. And of course, President Trump does as well. Because in the last 4 years, when we did the opposite of that, it was very costly to us. We had rogue regimes that grew more aggressive. We had terrorists that became more involved. And we had our world order more unstable than it has been in decades. But contrast that with what you've seen in just the first 100 days of the Trump administration. We really do, as we say here, literally have a new sheriff in town. America once again has a president who is not afraid to wield American strength. Republicans in Congress are right behind it. We're trying to reaffirm our commitment to Israel. We're trying to deepen our ties with India. We understand how important both of those countries are. And we'll continue to confront acts of terror like the brutal attack at Kashmir with resolve. We will ensure that those responsible for these heinous deeds are brought to. It's essential that we harken back to our shared values, those values of peace and dignity and the right to worship and practice our faith freely. It is what makes us who we are as Americans. It's in our DNA. We should export those values around the world. These values transcend borders and religious traditions, of course, and they remind us that acts of persecution or religious terrorism are ultimately acts of terror against all people of faith. I hope this conversation continues to foster a deeper understanding and an enduring partnership between these two communities. And I thank you for your time. I was supposed to allow a lot of time for Q&A. I have to open the House floor at 2 p.m. on the dot, or we're all in trouble. But maybe one or two questions we can squeeze them in quickly.
Just two questions.
Two questions.
Yeah.
Is there
any questions?
How are you trying to deal with Islamic terrorism that's resurfacing now more and more?
It's a very serious problem, Islamic terrorism, and it shows us, it illustrates that we cannot take our focus off of that. It is always a threat. And, we're obviously monitoring very closely, trying to support as much as we can our dear friends in Israel who are still at war and under direct assault every day. We saw it illustrated even in most recent days. I think that Iran, in my view, is the primary sponsor of terror around the world. I think that is the center of the focus, and it must be. Hamas and Hezbollah and these other groups are proxies of Iran. And there's negotiation right now about what they're doing with enriching uranium. We have to be absolutely certain that they do not get a nuclear warhead. That has to be a top priority for free-loving people around the world. And I think the administration is dialed in on that, as you would say, and they're monitoring that very closely. I think we have to hold a firm hand, and we've got to make sure that we do not allow for terrorism to flourish as it has in recent years. I think a strong America is good for freedom around the world. And it falls to us, I think, to lead that cause and to lead other nations and to make sure the UN and all of our allies understand that it's our resolve and our commitment. So it's something that will be with us perpetuity, I'm afraid. So we've got to be very serious about it.
So Pakistan had designated a troop to go east from the State Department, but sanctions have been held at bay with a waiver. What's the appetite for lifting that waiver and maybe instituting or implementing the Global Magnitsky Act against maybe leadership of the Pakistan military, which we know directly supports terror groups like Lashkar-e-Taiba, and the Resistance Front is an option of that group that conducted terror attacks.
Yeah, what's happening in Pakistan is takes a lot of our attention as well. I can tell you that House Republicans are resolved to stand against any sponsor of terrorism in any country. I can't speak for the State Department because I haven't had that direct conversation, but I do know that you can take a lot of solace in the fact that Marco Rubio is our Secretary of State. I think he is a highly competent, qualified leader for a time such as this, and he knows as much about world affairs as anyone. You can see that the president puts a lot of trust in Marco. In fact, keeps getting in more assignments. That's a pretty good sign. I think they're really good people over there. I think they're watching this closely, and I don't want to get in front of the White House in terms of what U.S. policy would be. But I can tell you it's a great concern in the House, among House Republicans. So we've got to be very careful about it. Okay, wait, one more, and I breaks over there. Yes, sir.
Yeah, what is your message for India, who has been at the receiving end of this cross-border terrorism for decades?
Yes, we have great sympathy for what's happening over there, and we want to stand with our allies. I think India is a very important partner to us in so many ways. I hope that the trade negotiation to work out well between two countries. No one asked me about terrorists. I'm glad. Yes, but incredibly important relationship for us, and such a large population and such an important country. And India has standing against terrorism there as well. We'll do everything we can in the U.S. to support those efforts. And I think that's all part of this relationship as it develops. The Trump administration clearly understands the importance of that relationship and clearly understands the importance of the threat of terrorism. And so I think if that threat is increased, I think you'll see the administration. My belief is that they will focus more energy and resources and time to help assist with that. That's certainly our hope. So thank you all for your patience. Arthur, thank you for the invitation. What a great fruit. I hope that you all will come by the speaker's office before you leave town if you haven't been there yet. We have the best photo op in all of America on the balcony, the speaker's balcony. It overlooks the National Mall, and you should come by and take a photo there. So have a great visit. Thank you so much, and let us be a resource to you. All right. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congressman Fitzpatrick, let's have you say a few words, and then I'll continue.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. So I want to say thank you, Dr. Tadmir, Alan, where's Arthur in the back? Thank you for inviting me and Tom, and I understand my classmate, Giga Johnson, will be coming. What's that? Just coming. Okay. Well, he's got to wait until I'm done. So he said, listen, he said he's going to come speak to podium. I said, look, you want to like it out of classmates, so he doesn't, I think what you all are doing here is brilliant. I really do. I think it's time we start thinking in terms of force multipliers. We have a lot of amazing organizations that contain amazing people that have very much aligned with common goals and a common mission that sometimes break off in their own efforts. And I think this is a way to start drawing the linear correlation that exists between a lot of different groups. And in this case, it's the Jewish people and the Indian people. Amazing human beings, many of which are subjects to oppression and bigotry, sometimes from similar directions, sometimes from different directions. And it helps us to be able to kind of work together with these groups where we can draw that commonality. We talked about potential resolution.
Yes.
And I look forward to reading that. But I just want to say I look forward to working with you all on this, because force multipliers are the way to go in this era where all of us have 24 hours in a day and we got a lot going on. This Hill is constantly just busting at the seams with initiatives. There's never a shortage of things to do or places to be. Reason why Tom and I probably look so tired, we're running around like chickens all day long while we're here. But we appreciate you all merging these two concepts together, because I think we actually will strengthen the advocacy by advocating both for the Jewish people and the Hindu people, where there is alignment. And I think it also will make the argument much more powerful as well. I had a huge Jewish population in my district. I had a huge Hindu population in my district. You know what? Maybe I ought to get them together in my district.
Yes.
Maybe y'all can help me do that.
Yes, good idea.
And I think that ought to be the model, right? I think you ought to have, obviously your goal should be to get to all 435 districts in the country to build that coalition. But you got to start somewhere. This is a good place to start. Launching here in Washington, but organically, if this movement and this initiative is going to work, you gotta have tentacles in all 435 congressional districts. Have your local representatives of this cause build relationships with the congressional staff, build relationships with the members, start to co-sponsor initiatives that are offered here on the Hill, and also have a state government counterpart as well. Do this on the state level, in the state capitals in all 50 states in America. That's really how you get a movement up and running and build momentum behind it. And I'm happy and honored to be part of WAS. Dr. Kazan, thank you. Now, thank you. Arthur? Where's Arthur? He's looking for the speaker again. Just in a week, and I speak on behalf of all of us who are your friends. Utilize us as a resource. Let us know what you need from us. You need help drafting any of these resolutions, we're happy to help you do that. If you need help getting co-sponsors onto these resolutions, let us know that as well. But ultimately, we don't just want to meet and talk. We want to act. That's really the purpose here, because we have a country and we have a world to save. And every little bit that we can do, we're ready to east everything out. So, all right, thank you, Tom. You're up, vote. Tom and I, our district's border are separated by the Delaware River. He likes to remind me that when Washington crossed the Delaware on Christmas Night of 1776, they started in my district and they ended in yours. Is that right?
Well, that's they got my district eventually. But what I say is, yes, a lot of important things happen in Pennsylvania. They actually started winning the war in New Jersey. You look at all the battles of the Revolutionary War, all the fight, all the principles, and then later, an Abraham Lincoln came and talked on his way from Springfield all the way to Washington, D.C. here. When he was in the state capitol of Trenton, he actually spoke twice. Once to the state senate and once to the General Assembly about the important things that happened, more important that people had fought for all those long years ago that still held us together as a nation. And then building coalitions and understanding and learning from each other is the most important thing that we can do as fellow human beings. Learn from our history. And as we were learning just a little bit earlier, but how things are connected, how things are done on purpose, how we need to join together with a purpose to protect our principles and our shared values. It's who we are, and it's important to be here as part of this inaugural meeting, this inaugural coalition, to make sure that we can stand together, putting the Jewish people, the indigenous people around the globe, and make sure we fight, that we win this fight against China and the malign actors who want to do us and our economic existence so much harm. Thank you.
You have a lot of supporters here, so we welcome you.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. And any colleague, thank you. Back. I just very briefly, I do have a bill up on forced organ harvesting, and it's up in about a half hour, 45 minutes. So I do have to run, but you're going to hear from the best of the best, and it's our speaker. Speaker Mike Johnson is an absolute ethical and effective leader, and he's got a lot of difficult things he's working on. So he's, he'll be here in a moment. You'll hear from him. And just so you know, obviously we're all very, very concerned about the world and all of the terrible threats that India faces. That China continues to be. I chair the China Commission, and that's what this bill is about today. It's called the Forced Organ Harvesting Act. Every year Xi Jinping kills tens of thousands of Uyghurs and Falun Gong practitioners to take their organs out. It's a crime against humanity, and we have a very, very strong bill itself. It's very, very. Tom Paine's a good supporter of it. Very, very shortly. But China obviously poses threats to you. And while I do think the president, with his most recent, our president, tariffs talk, wants to come to a quick conclusion and a positive one on tariffs vis-a-vis India. And I think that's a great thing. China is really the one that is in the crosshairs of all of us in terms of their terrible human rights abuse and Xi Jinping's fanatical expansionism. I mean, he believes that hegemony in the area like nobody else that I've seen. Why the big military buildup that threatens all of his neighbors and us? Where's the natural enemy that he needs to be concerned about? Taiwan? Are you kidding me? So we're all trying to do what we can to mitigate the dangers there. So again, I think the friendship between us. I remember when the tsunami hit, we did make our way to India, Sri Lanka, as well as other places that were devastated. And I was so glad to be a part of the delegation that did everything we could to help India as well as the other countries, Indonesia as well, recover from that. Again, great democracy. Let me say it again. You're a great democracy, and we deeply respect you, want to work with you to make the world a safer place. Because they are threats. The commitment to Israel is also something we greatly admire in you. I mean, Israel needs friends. It needs it now more than ever. Hamas and Iran have certainly exposed themselves for their violent actions. October 7th was only a tip of the iceberg. We know, but again, the more we all stand in solidarity with that democracy in that part of the world, the more apt they will survive and prosper, and also get other nations in the area, the Abraham Accords, to join them, so that we have a very strong Middle East dedicated democracy and human rights. So again, you're a part of that as well, and I can't thank you enough for that work as well. So thank you for inviting me to be here. I can't stay. I got to go do this bill. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.